Welcome back to the 31st and last video tutorial on remaking GameMaker Studio. No, remaking Hotline Miami in GameMaker Studio. I was a little bit too fast. So this is the thing which we're gonna do today, and this is then after that it's maintenance mode. We are doing the doors. So once we go through WowC, we can open them and then we can close them, and as you can see they kind of bounce back if they are in a too big angle. And a thing which I thought a little bit jitterish, so basically if you play Hotline Miami 1, not sure how that is in 2, then this thing can like go very fast in between and go jitterish, and here I just enabled and disabled the interaction between the player and the door, so you can just from time to time, so if the speed is 0, then we can once again reactivate it. So if you don't like this, you can kind of ready-made this later on if you like, but I thought like, hey, I like it the way it goes, so it looks a little bit cleaner. So if you want to know all that, stick around. This is OneUp Indie. I am a developer, so if you like what you're seeing, hey, why not consider sharing, liking and subscribing. So the theory behind this, basically we have a player and the door has a joint. So this is symbolized by the white thing, and then depending what we do, we just turn it around, of course, along the joint. So basically this point, and therefore everything is kind of centered around how that is. So for example, let's say our player is below the door, he's going upwards, then you would expect that the door is going up because the joint is here. Then we are going like this. But let's say, for example, if you are below here, then the joint is, well, turning the thing around like this. So therefore we need to have every quarter of a full circle different kind of behavior. So once again, because this is super counterintuitive, we need to just a quick little reminder how that actually works in GameMaker Studio. Let's go with the with a great color. So basically this is a 0 concerning if we're going to the right, concerning then we go counterclockwise, then we go for 90 degrees, and if we are going in this direction 180, and then to 70, yay, and then boom, we are back at 360 or 0. So basically if we are going counterclockwise, we are adding, and if we are going clockwise, then we are subtracting to this door speed or swing speed or whatever you want to call that. I just call it door speed because I guess this is then a little bit convenient, or door angle speed. You can call it whatever you like, and then boom, we're just turning it around. So once again, for example, if we are the joint is here and we are pushing from below, then we are going here, and then we are doing what? Adding a speed value to that. So this is the whole theory, and then this will become a little bit more complicated in this tutorial. All right, so the first thing which we need to have is basically a sprite. Very important that the anchor point is middle left, so basically here or somewhere here. It's all right, I guess we can do it like this, and then it will turn around correctly. So here once again the white point is the joint. This is just so you can actually see it a little bit better, because we will be checking from a point of somewhere. We're just pushing it up, and then you will see. Alrighty, so then we have our object door, which we of course place in the room. Now we place it like here and like here, so we can actually check it out easier. And then we need a few variables which we need to have at the very beginning. So first of all, can touch this variable, or you can touch this, whatever you want to say to that. And this is basically enabling, disabling the player interaction with the door. So if this thing is not true, we cannot update and change how the door is interacting. For example, if you prefer the little bit more jitterish version, then you can kind of skip on this kind of thing and you just update all the time the values. But I thought like, so it looks a little bit cleaner. But of course, this is then up to you. Then we need a current speed value of our door, of the swing speed, or I call it door speed. then this is the current one, which will be reduced later on. So we have a full version of that. So basically a start speed. For that we have another variable, start speed. I would go with 7 or 8 because we are swinging very fast and very violently, and then we will reduce it, and then well, the door speed will just go, and then at some point will be 0, and then we say like, hey, you can touch this again, and then boom, we kind of loop that thing. So here only those 3 variables, and then we are pretty much finished with the, well, the creative end of the doors. I'm just basically drawing all those variables on the screen so they can touch this, the speed, and then a normalized absolute value of the image angle. Later on I will tell you why that is, because this is how I calculate what we want to do. So the first thing will be pretty easy. So basically, once we have defined our joint and we want to rotate, let's rotate that thing. So let's say we want our door speed. So if our door speed is bigger than 0, we want to rotate our well, image angle of the door. So image angle, here we go, not this one, and update it by the door speed. So plus equals the door speed. Here we come to a little thing, because that value can be negative. So therefore we just go absolute, and then absolute just turns it, if it's negative, into positive, and if it's positive, well, then it does nilch to it, so nothing. So here a little thing, and then we just update that thing. For now the door speed is 0 per default. Let's copy those 2, and then once we are colliding with the player, we just say like, hey, let's set the door speed to a start value, and then you will see once we start it, then it starts rotating. So let's check this out. As you can see, we are drawing, this is the angle, the normalized, the absolute value, then the door speed is 0 because it's not turning around, and we can touch this, and then we are going around, and this is amazing. As you can see, the value goes up, which isn't too good, because later on we need to have a normalized version between 0 to 360 to capture all the stuff. Alrighty, so this is working pretty good. Let's do a little bit more. So let's say, hey, only update this value if the can touch value is true. So let's do it like this. So basically now we can only do it once, and then say like, hey, the can touch value is false. So here we are disabling kind of the input of the player, but here not much is happening because we are not reducing the value, and this is basically what we're doing. Now we want to reduce the value of the swing speed or the door speed. Here we go, and then we just say like, hey, reduce it by, let's go 0.1, let's go 0.2, doesn't really matter. So if our door speed, yep, completely wrong, so fine. Now if our door speed is bigger than, let's go 0.2, then we reduce the door speed by 0.2. so this is then of course up to you if you want to have it faster or slower. So minus 0.2, here we go. Then maybe else if the value is below 0.2, so smaller than minus 0.2, we go and set the door speed to a plus value because we want to, well, update it. So basically we're just trying to reach a 0 value, and then for example here, if all fails, let's go and make the door speed 0. So here make it 0, And for now, this is of course working pretty fine. And then, for example, once the door speed is 0, so if the door speed is equal to 0, what do? Well, we enable the interaction of the player. So here they can touch this value, we can basically copy paste that in, and then, for example, we let it spin, and then boom, we can respin it again. So here, once again, we let it spin, and then it's over, and we let it spin, and it's over, and it's over. And of course here, as you can see, door speed. This is pretty cool, and this is of course working great. And this is basically not how doors work. Then we come to a few things which we need to do. And yeah, this is gonna be a little bit, well, not math heavy, but we need to have a few things which we need to get. So first of all, we need to get a value which is somewhere here. And for that we need a y value, but the length dir value, because let's say we are rotating that thing, then the y value is not the same as a, well, anchor y value. So for that we need to have a thing. So check where we touch the door, and for that we have a variable which I then just call door yy, and then we just go y plus length. Here we go, and then we go with the value, I don't know, let's go by 12 or whatever, and then image angle. And of course this thing has a width of 32 pixels, but I want to be kind of close to the middle. Of course middle would be 16, a little bit more to the center, and then this is all right. Of course here once again play with a value which suits you better, and here we go. Then we got this value, and then we need to get the image angle. And here we come to a little issue, because the image angle now, for example, is going into values which are not good. So therefore we need to normalize it. So first of all, in our step event, we can modulo it, and modulo just means like we are dividing it by a value, and then we just having the rest value. And this works pretty fine. So we just say like image angle is image angle modulo 360, and this is how we always get a positive number. So basically this is just a fail-safe for us, so that the image angle is always in a value between 0 to 360, and therefore we can apply it. So if this value, for example, goes over 360, then we just, the modulo will just kill it if it's going over there. So this is pretty cool. Of course, if we go into minus values, then we need to kind of apply that too. And therefore, first of all, the failsafe here, and then the second failsafe, or at least failsafe for me, is to have the thing normalized. And therefore I just say like, hey, var normalized, or well, normalized, yeah, normalized. Then we just take our image angle, which is already between 0 and 360, so we made that true in our step event. And then we just say like, hey, while, for example, if this value is below 0, so if you're going in minus values, so smaller than 0, then we just update it by 360. And then normalized angle plus equals, and here we go, by 360. So here we are normalizing in the minus values and in the plus values. Of course here this won't be an issue, for example, it should be a big issue, because normally you shouldn't be doing while loops, but I guess that's all right here. And now we are just checking a few things. So first of all, hey, is the player below the door? So is the player below the door? That just means like, hey, if are other, so this is the player, other y is bigger than our, well, kind of fictional point on our door. So if that is true, sweet, then we make a few checks. First of all, we just say like, hey, are we between, let's go 0 to 90, so the first quarter. So we just say like, if the normalized angle is bigger than 0 and the normalized angle is smaller or equals to 90 degrees, what do? Well, if we are below the door, we are pushing it upwards. That means it has a door speed value which is going upwards. So basically this dude here, boom. But for example, what happens if we are, let's say, between 90 to 180? So hopefully you know what's going on. So for example, but what happens here? What would you say is then the value which we need to have? Yeah, hopefully you guessed it correctly. So we just input it here, minus, and therefore we need to apply this logic also to the value between 180 and 270 and 270 and 360. So this is the upper half, this is the lower half of the angle of the door, and therefore this applies. And then for example, we need to get rid of this, and then we need to check, hey, player is on top of the door, and therefore this is basically same-ish concerning the logic. So for example, if we are on top, then we are in the first quarter, then we're just pushing it down. So once again, this is our logic in here very quickly. So make this a little bit bigger so you can actually see it. Basically, it's this code is very same to this one, but of course we need to apply the correct door speed which we want to have. So is this the minus value or is this a plus value? And here, for example, we can actually already check this out. So let's see. So we are below and pushing it upwards. We are below. Oh, working beautifully. Neat. Boom. And then boom. So as you can see, working nice. And now we're doing the last part. So this is basically a little bit of a pushback. So let's say we are having our door turned around. So for example, So we are having this thing turned around. So as you can see, turned around too much. So I don't know, let's say this is the 0 value. So this is when it's closed. Then we go here, this would be 90 degrees. 180 is too much, so we could go in the 145. This would be completely in the middle, so let's go 140, because I guess this is an opportune thing to do. And then we're just saying like, hey, if we cross those values, bounce it back. So here we just introduce like max values and which direction we can actually swing. If not, swing it back. So we just say like if, and then we're pretty much finished with the tutorial, and then we are done. So if the image angle is bigger than, let's say 140 or minus, just say like yeah, let's switch up the image angle to 140 as a max. So basically we cannot go over this value, so boom. And then we're just saying like, hey, let's take the door speed and do a thing which is then absoluting it, because now we are, well, in a minus value, so we are absoluting this one. And then we can do the same thing for if we are bigger than 140 degrees, and we just like no, we don't want to go. And here we go minus absolute. So basically we are just swinging back to the other things. Alrighty, so let's check this out, and boom, and as you can see, it's kind of swinging back, and this is what I wanted to achieve. Easy peasy. So already, so here we are ending this series, and the maintenance mode is now active, and that just means that I have to polish this little game or project for the itch.io version. So this will be a little bit more polished version with a few more features which I wanted to implement, but I didn't in the end because of well, too low view retention and so on. So basically this is then the way it goes. And then, for example, if you invested in this on itch.io, you get, of course, then hopefully tomorrow or maybe in 2 days or whatever, an updated version. Of course, I will write it here and in it on itch.io also, and of course I will give this to my patrons as a little thank you also. Already, hopefully you enjoyed this, and we will see what kind of series I can start or what kind of new stuff I can actually do on this channel here. Have a really good one. One up indie.